with Adamida. And I think Brendan Rodgers has got them to a place where they're definitely not petering out.
No. And look, do you know what they're doing? They're ticking off Brendan's performance boxes one by one. He did say he was going to go into these final 5 games of the season, setting little targets. And he's got them. You can tell there's a fire there. You can tell that they've not, it's not flip-flops time yet. They've got a cup final to prepare for. You get guys like Nicholas Kuhn, by the way, who's got to really throw down the gauntlet in terms of, I want a start in the cup final. Because
it's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. And when you've got James Forrest, who is a consistent 8 out of 10 player, perhaps sometimes better, but very rarely lower than that, James Forrest. And he's fit and he's firing and he's looking hungry. These are decisions that, that's why Brendan gets paid the big bucks, of course. But decisions nonetheless. So yeah, and Kuhn will be delighted that he on the score sheet he looked a bit more like himself. But there is genuine competition there.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many places you would say that about throughout the starting 11. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel coming back from injuries, massive because and I think he's made a brilliant save from Martin Boyle before the Hibs opening goal. Just typical Schmeichel. So that's big. All over the pitch, you think there's probably about 8-9 places that are pretty much guaranteed.
Aye.
And there's maybe one, two, maybe 3 at most places up for grabs. So the guys that are got those question marks hanging over them, they're the ones that will have real fire.
Aye.
But Brendan Rodgers is really expert in giving, setting little kind of targets to keep motivation levels as they should be. He's spoken and he obviously opened fire in his dressing room after the St Johnstone game. Said, that's just not going to cut it here. Actually started, kind of almost issuing threats in terms of what he plans to do this summer if that's what the attitude is. So he's constantly challenging his players. He's constantly keeping them on their toes. That was a really resounding way because Hibs have been superb.
Form team in the country.
So that was a great result, a good performance, and there is that fire there, and that's going to be essential. And I'm with the Aberdeen fan that's already terrified about what might be awaiting for them at Hampden this.
I mean, that Aberdeen today
this month
was wild.
No, I think Celtic. I mean, we've seen what Celtic did to Aberdeen the last time the pair met at Hampden, and I think it could be something very similar in store.
Hoopsaholic says the goal number 3 yesterday was a thing of beauty, and I wanted to touch on this because Reo Hatate, there was kind of a few social media rumours that he could be even signing a new contract at Celtic. Now, I know social media is not the be-all and end-all. I'm not putting much stock in that, but I rate Hatate so highly.
Yeah.
And it feels like
quality player.
Rodgers has got him a lot more consistent this season. And I think if he can be persuaded to stay next season, which I don't think is guaranteed, that could be huge for Celtic. It's similar to Maeda, but I think
you're going to have to brace yourself for bad news on that front.
You think Hatate will go?
Really? And I think he's been making the noises, and I think people in at Celtic know that he's been I'm not going to say agitating because I don't think he's been rocking any boats.
Aye.
But I think that it's fairly well established, well known behind the scenes at Celtic that there's a touch of the Kyogo Furuhashi's where
that's what I thought up until recently. But
so I think that's one reason why one of the kind of priority targets for Brendan Rodgers this summer will be a central midfield player. I don't think Celtic will want to lose Hatate, but I think that he feels the time is right to make a move, and I think he'll probably be looking at hoping at getting into one of Europe's top leagues, and he's just not going to get. He'll get the opportunity to play Champions League at Celtic, but I think he's striving for something more than that. However, he maybe if he's picked up the phone to his wee mate Kyogo, he might be learning that
grass
ain't always greener.
Kaiser says, I think pushed by the national team manager of Japan, Hatate and Maeda are off. Hoopsaholic agrees with Yuki, says the time is right to sell Hatate. Mark says Hatate is the most naturally gifted player since Lubomir Moravchik. That's a big call, but I do rate him very highly.
Gifted player.